Wagwan, my peoples, stick around for this video because today I'm discussing where to live in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2026 and every neighborhood you need to know. Let's get right into it. What is going on, YouTube? If you are new to the channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back to the Living in Tampa Bay channel. I'm your host, Shandon Kaya, and your trusted real estate advisor for the Tampa Bay area. Our video setup is a little bit different than usual, and our video today is also going to be very different. A lot more editing and small pieces working on the back end. You can see I've got a new desk and setup here, but nonetheless, I'm going to be using a new software that I learned about, Google Earth Studio, to kind of get a better image of some of these neighborhoods opposed to drone footage or, stock images online and things of that nature. However, the main thing I wanted to accomplish today was to give you guys a map tour of St. Petersburg, the Tampa Bay area, figure out the geography, the layout, the major roadways, and of course, break down those neighborhoods in correspondence to those things. And to do that, I'm going to be doing a screen recording on my laptop and go over each neighborhood one by one so you can get a better picture and better understanding of St. Petersburg and eventually, ultimately decide if moving here is going to be a good fit for you. Before we get into it, I want to remind you guys that I am a licensed agent in the state of Florida. So if you have real estate goals, questions, or dreams of moving here, especially the Tampa Bay area, I would be honored to earn your business and help you make your transition here as smooth as possible. So I'm going to drop my contact information on screen so you guys can get in touch. And please don't hesitate to reach out, as I'm always here to be a resource for you. Okay, so first things first, what people need to know about Tampa Bay is that it is fully encompassed pretty much by this big circle of a highway you see here. Now, we're just going to call this, for simplicity's sake, 275. 275 is going to start all the way up here in Wesley Chapel where you see my cursor. And it's going to come down through Tampa, cut over the bay, and come into St. Petersburg, through St. Petersburg, over the bay again, which we call this big one, the Skyway Bridge, that leads down into Bradenton and Manatee County, and then it eventually turns into 75, which runs pretty much north and south through a majority of the nation. And while I would love to cover the entirety of Tampa Bay in just one video, we're going to focus on St. Petersburg so we can condense this and make it as simple as possible. So let's zoom in here to St. Pete, and you can see St. Pete isn't really that big, but it makes up the majority of this peninsula here that we call Pinellas County. Now, St. Petersburg, where my cursor is, where it's blue, if you zoom in, this is actually going to be downtown St. Pete. So if you zoom in some more, you can see we have Tropicana Field, we have Central Avenue, where you're going to have your nightlife, a lot of shopping, a lot of restaurants, and kind of just what most normal metro downtowns look like. We also have the St. Pete Pier, and this is one of the most notable tourist attractions. There's a couple restaurants out here at the very end. It's very picturesque. You can go out, see the bay, and there's some other things like Vinoy Park, North Shore, and the USF campus down here as well. There's also a private airport, but that's a different conversation. So the first neighborhood I actually want to highlight is going to be over on the west side of town. You can usually find this reference point by this lake right here. It's pretty small. Oh, sorry. It's this one right here. This is going to be Lake Sheffield. Now, if you zoom in a little more, we're going to come into a neighborhood called Disston Heights. Now, what I love about Disston Heights is it's older, but the homes are they range between the 50s and the early 80s. So you kind of have your standard Florida cracker homes scattered throughout the entire neighborhood. But depending on, the seller and when they purchase, there's a lot of newly renovated properties here. And with its proximity to both downtown and the beaches over to the west here, it's almost right in the middle, and then you have major roadways. It's pretty much split right off 38th Avenue North and then 49th Street. So in terms of like road access, it's pretty good to, traverse the city, get back and forth between places, which is always a nice feature. In terms of recreation, they're calling this JWK Rec Center, but we call it Northwest Park. You can see from this aerial view, they have a ton of baseball fields. They have, of course, the rec center. They have tennis courts, pickleball courts, as well as one sand volleyball court, and then more than enough space to set up grass volleyball as well over in the field, which is what we usually get into out there. But again, the average home value in this area, or median home price, is right between 350 and 400,000. And again, because of the age of the homes, I think you can get in on that lower end, but of course those ones that have been renovated and are maybe a little bit bigger can be a little more expensive. So it's like a good starting point for a growing family or someone who's looking to retire. Okay, our next one, and perhaps one of my favorites, is going to be Bartlett Park, and that's going to be right here in the southeast corner of the city. You can see this massive park. There it is. Bartlett Park is this pretty much huge park right here, but it also is this big neighborhood here. So this is going to be a river. Salt Creek is going to run up through here all the way to the downtown area, but pretty much north of this and then south of another neighborhood we'll get to in a second, Roser Park, is pretty much all Bartlett Park. And what I love about this is if you're far enough north, you can stay out of the flood zones, but there is a part of this neighborhood that is in flood zone AE, so you're going to be required to pay flood insurance. But for those that aren't, you're safe from flooding. It is an emerging area, and I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll have some serious equitable growth, because the price points now are very low, but in the future, once they start or continue to develop this area, you can see it is very close to downtown. You're talking no more than 10 minutes to Tropicana Field, downtown St. Pete, Central Avenue, like we mentioned before. And for those reasons, it is one of my favorites in the entire city. Now, this next one is also one of my favorites, and it is because I live here. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but we're going to zoom out again. Here is the whole of St. Petersburg. We're going to come up to here where it says Leelman. Now you can see Leelman is just west of Highway 275. And then right where it says Leelman, this road running north and south is actually US Highway 19/34th Street. So another major roadway that runs through both St. Petersburg and Clearwater. But if you can get a property in this corridor where my cursor is moving, it is one of the best locations because of the access to the roadways, and it's centrally located to literally everything. We're talking 25 minutes to St. Pete Beach, 30 minutes to Tampa International Airport, sometimes 20 on a good day. You're talking 15 minutes to downtown St. Pete, 15 minutes to St. Pete Airport, 15 minutes to Clearwater, maybe 40 minutes to Clearwater Beach because it is a little further north. But nonetheless, the property values here are also pretty moderate, significantly more affordable than some of the more prestigious neighborhoods in St. Petersburg. The only flaw I'd say is if you zoom in a little bit here, you can see it's kind of mixed with like this industrial area. A lot of these are like auto repair, shipping warehouses, cargo bays for some larger transportation companies. But you can see the residential properties woven in here as well. So it's kind of a weird like mixed use area. However, again, because the property values are so attractive, it's one of my favorite places. And then of course, being centrally located, you absolutely cannot beat it. All right, so I'm gonna kind of encompass this whole area right here because this is gonna be considered Northeast St. Pete. Now, I don't want to emphasize it too much because most of this is in a flood zone. I really am not a fan of the flood zones because the flood insurance has gotten out of control. But a couple areas I do want to take note of are, let's see if we zoom in enough, if it'll tell us. Okay, so we'll start down here. So first we have Greater Woodlawn. Now you can see Woodlawn Park here. There's a bunch of apartments and residential properties scattered throughout here, and its proximity to downtown makes it a beautiful place to live. It is an emerging area, still some trouble that goes on there from time to time, but that is getting gentrified day by day, and I've seen the growth over the past 5 to 6 years, and it is inevitable. Now, moving just east of Woodlawn, you have Crescent Lake Park right here, and now this whole block, pretty much from 9th Ave all the way up to what I believe is 38th Ave, or maybe that's 22nd Ave, is what we consider historic uptown. And this is one of the most desired neighborhoods in all of St. Pete. You have some historic, very well taken care of homes, some 1920s homes, 1930s homes that are honestly astonishing. And the ones that have been maintained are gorgeous. And moving, if you continue east, you move into historic Old Northeast. And for these two neighborhoods, the price point goes way up, especially in Old Northeast. You're talking a medium price point of 1.1 million. Some very gorgeous homes. And again, one of the most desired neighborhoods in all of St. Petersburg. And then real quick, before we move on to our highlighted neighborhoods, we have these areas here. We have Allendale kind of in this block here. We have Magnolia Heights just west of there. And we have this larger neighborhood that we call Meadow Lawn. Now, Meadow Lawn is another one of those ones like Bartlett that if you are up in this northeast corner, you might be getting into flood zone area. So it's a little bit weary. But if you zoom in here, this whole area kind of around this Roberts Rec Center is one of my favorites. It is extremely safe. The property values are maybe a little bit higher than average, but again, your proximity to 275 and downtown St. Pete are really great. Just make sure you stay out of those flood zones because I believe one of these streets here is where the cutoff is at. Now, this next neighborhood is pretty special to me. So we're going to zoom out again. Here's St. Pete. And remember, downtown is right where St. Petersburg is at. So we're going to zoom in to a neighborhood called Historic Roser Park. Let's see if we search it here, what it will do. Boom. Okay, so they've made it a little bit smaller than what one might think, but if you take this little section here, it kind of runs along this little creek here, and some of the homes are gorgeous. And then you have the hospital literally right adjacent to it. But combined with this neighborhood, I want to mention is another area called Greater South Central. Now, it's called that because it is literally south central of downtown St. Petersburg. And if you lump these two in, you can pretty much take this street here, go all the way west over to 4th Street, and 4th Street is going to take you right back into downtown. And these two neighborhoods are one of the most emerging areas in the entire city. Gentrification is very real, and it is happening day by day. And I have friends who have bought in these neighborhoods, and they're already seeing equitable growth. And this is just in the course of 2 years. So 5 to 10 years from now, I mean, this is going to be one of the best places to have bought real estate. And again, you're literally a 5-minute drive into downtown to where all the action is at. Just a couple more places I want to touch on, and then I'll give you my last hidden gem. And the comments are probably going to eat me alive because they've been tearing me up on socials. Gulfport, some people don't consider it a part of St. Petersburg, but like I come from a very small town. So like when I see this on a map, Gulfport is literally St. Petersburg, and you can't tell me any different. Like it's literally part of the same peninsula, but some people disagree. But I will say Gulfport is like, it's a balance between like emerging, and some of the waterfront homes are absolutely stellar, and they have some beautiful condos, even though I'm not a fan of condos, but you can't sit here and argue that they're not amazing. But Gulfport's okay. And then you move west, and as you get closer to the beach, you have this area, South Pasadena here. Now, Pasadena, Bear Creek pretty much makes up this entire southeast corner right before you start to cross the bridges into the beaches. In South Pasadena, again, the price point is way up there, but from what I've heard from past clients, one of the best places to live, and especially if you're an avid beach goer, love that beach lifestyle, this is going to be the neighborhood for you. All right, next highlighted neighborhood is going to be Kenwood. So this is actually split up into two. You have historic Kenwood and you have North Kenwood, but they're right adjacent to each other. And let's see if we put in a search where this is going to take us. Cool. So you can see Kenwood is pretty much this block here all the way over to 275. And then North Kenwood is going to be right above that, going all the way up to this industrial area here where there's like a Sam's Club and Aldi, a Publix, so on and so forth. Now this is still US 19, this major road here / 34th Street. And if you zoom in a little more, you're going to see St. Petersburg High School, which is like the local high school. They are the Green Devils, located right here on, this has to be 5th Ave North. So you're not too far from downtown, but Kenwood is becoming one of those places that people are raising families, people are buying investment properties, people are doing both short and long-term rentals. So it's a nice mix of everything, and the property values are still pretty moderate. North Kenwood, the prices are more affordable. Historic Kenwood, they are a little pricier because the neighborhood's a little more established, but these people have been here for a while, and a lot of these owners take pride in ownership. So, excuse me, the homes are very well maintained and reflect exactly what St. Petersburg is. Now, I of course didn't mention every single neighborhood in St. Pete, but definitely the major ones that when you're shopping for real estate, these are going to come up in conversation. People you're hearing from are going to mention these, and I felt like these were the most important to highlight. I feel like people looking from outside in can get a little bit confused about the geography and location of some of these neighborhoods. That's why I really wanted to do a map tour to give you a true picture of the layout of the city. And I will definitely be doing one for Tampa and Clearwater in the future, so be on the lookout for those videos as well if you're more interested in those areas. But I wanted to start with St. Pete because I live here. I feel like I have the best understanding of St. Pete compared to the other cities. And St. Pete is just a beautiful place to live, and a lot of people hearing about Tampa Bay, St. Pete always comes up in conversation. So it's always top of mind, and people want to learn more about it before they make that decision. And I will say though, and I said this in my past content, so if you've been watching for a while, you know, but St. Pete is a lot more expensive than a lot of the other areas in Tampa Bay. So just be prepared for that. And some of the cities or neighborhoods I brought up today are definitely more on the affordable side compared to what most people are paying for in St. Petersburg. But it's all about doing your research, finding the neighborhood that's going to be best fit for you. And then of course, getting pre-approved to find out what your budget's going to be and what neighborhood you're going to actually be able to afford. I know this video ended up being a little long-winded, and I apologize for that. I tried to keep it as concise as possible for you guys, but with the speed of my computer and the editing and this being a new video idea, it did take me a little bit longer than I liked. But for that, I'd like to thank you for sticking around this long and doing the map tour with me. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please be sure to go down, like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. And if there's any neighborhoods that I missed that you want me to feature next time I do a video like this, please be sure to drop them in the comments. You can roast me, you can say whatever you want about neighborhoods I mentioned or didn't mention, or my opinion on things. It's all free game here. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's what the comment section's for. The last piece of value I want to offer you guys before I head out of here is actually my Tampa and St. Pete neighborhood guides. So it is essentially going to be a PDF of all the neighborhoods we discussed today, respective to both cities, and it'll give you a breakdown of some of my favorite neighborhoods and what's good, what's bad about them, so on and so forth. So the link to those will be in the description of this video. You just have to copy and paste it into your search bar and it'll take you to the PDF completely free. And if you are someone watching this video who is considering making the move to Tampa Bay, or you live here already and want to purchase in the Tampa Bay area, I want to remind you that I am a licensed agent in the state of Florida. So if you have real estate goals, questions, or dreams of moving here, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to be a resource for you. So I'm going to drop my contact information on screen so you can get in touch. And I'm always available via text, call, or email. I'll be seeing you guys soon on the next video. Peace.